Okay, friends, it is officially time to get into the first session that you're having with your practice container clients. Keep in mind, prior to starting this coaching session, I hope you made sure that they signed a consent form, a waiver, or a contract, right? Even though there's no payment, we want their buy-in, we want their commitment. And I have provided within the program a document or that you can have or you can look at and you can copy so that you can have this for the client. You want them to agree to show up every single week. You want them to agree to the fact that they are giving an honest testimonial at the end of this. Okay, that's their contribution. And that just basically sets it up so that you are both ready and willing participants in this relationship that you're about to enter into. Let's dive in on what exactly needs to happen in this session. Because this is the first session, you will be setting goals with your client. Okay, it's really important that you have somewhere to document where these goals are. I love having a Google Doc. And if you've worked with me one-on-one, then you know what that looks like, right? This is a shared Google Doc where I write the person's name as the file name, and then I set the goals for the session, or we set the goals. I ask them, where would they like to be at the end of the 6 weeks? Okay, it's super important that you understand what is their desire, their goal. Remember, coaching is led by the client, and they will tell you what's most important to them. You may talk about some of the things that happened when they came to mind for coaching, or if you had a consultation call with them at this point, like even before, to see if it was going to be a good fit of what they wanted to work on, where they were in their life. Right now, you guys get to set what that goal is. I highly recommend you stick to 1 or 2 goals that they want to work on during this time. It keeps your sessions focused. And because it is only 6 weeks, it makes it more realistic that you will see progress in 1 or 2 of those areas, right? The 1 or 2 areas that you guys determine that they get to decide is most important right now. This is how you say it. At the end of the 6th week, what would you like to be able to say you've accomplished? Where would you like to be at the end of the 6 weeks? As it pertains to this one area that we spoke about in your life right now, what would you like to see changed? Okay, now these are very vague on purpose because you want them to tell you what comes up for them, right? How they would know that they've achieved this thing or they've made progress. They're going to tell you what that looks like. Now, your job is to ask a few more probing questions to make sure that the goal that you guys set together actually makes sense. So, what that looks like. How will you know that you've made progress in this area? What will that look like? What will that feel like? Right? And here's the real kicker. If they give you like, well, I'll just feel more confident in this area, something like that, ask this as a follow-up. How confident do you currently feel from 1 to 10? Because that number that they give you right now is the baseline that they're starting at. And then you get to ask at the end of the 6 week, what would you like that number to be? Right? So they might be starting at a 2 or 3, and by the end of 6 weeks, they'd like to be an 8. Okay. And you can ask, how will we know? What will you have done? What does that look like? All those probing questions to make sure that you guys have a clear path that you're working towards during that 6 weeks. Okay. The other thing that may happen when you're setting these goals is they may give you a really big, lofty goal that you know will likely take more than 6 weeks. If it's something that they've been struggling with for, let's say, their whole life, right? 20, 30, 40 something years, then it's very unlikely that in a matter of 6 weeks, they're going to make a total 180 and be in a completely different space. And it's your job as a coach to manage those expectations. So that might look like or sound like you saying, okay, I hear you. And I think that's a wonderful thing to work towards. I don't think in 6 weeks we'll have seen a complete transformation to what you're describing, but I do believe we can make progress in this area because it is only 6 weeks, right? So we're not going to cure them of whatever it is that they've been struggling with their whole life, but we will definitely make progress. We're going to make some new decisions. We're going to take action. So it's going to look very different than what they have been doing on their own, okay, up until this point without your help. Okay, now that we have their goals set and that's out the way, let's talk about the flow of the coaching session. Okay, so you learned the GROW model. And remember, the GROW model stands for G, the goal. So we are setting the intention for this coaching session. So you'll be like, okay, now that we set our goals, right? Maybe if you picked one or two, you'll ask them, which one do you feel is most important or would you like to work on today? Which of the two goals would you like to discuss today? What would you like to have at the end of this coaching session? It might be like clarity that they want on something, a decision that they want to be made. What is the goal for today's session, right? You let them tell you and direct this first one, okay? What's the goal? What is that they're working towards? Which one of the two topics are we talking about? Then when you guys start talking about it, you want to know the R, the reality of the situation. What is it like now? All of your questions, right? And I've provided you with some questions, so feel free to have that with you ready to go, to be able to understand what the reality of their situation is right now so that you can best support them in identifying the O, right? In the GROW model, the O, the options or the obstacles. This is what's available to them. Sometimes people aren't used to taking their brain to think of alternative options. So always feel like you can ask permission to make a suggestion. I see that, you're struggling to think of some things. May I make a suggestion? And then make a suggestion. But that's only after you've really probed well and after you've asked this one little question that I love to ask when people are stuck. How have other people solved this in the past? What might someone else do? Let's take you out of the equation for a second. What would somebody else might do? And it doesn't mean because we're saying that we're going to do this thing. We just want to be open and consider what the options are. We're not going to make a decision if we say that that's the one. We're just considering what they are, what's possible. Okay. And that kind of takes people from thinking about themselves and thinking about somebody else, or what they've seen other people do. Okay. And, or if you're thinking about obstacles, what has been the obstacle in the past? What's in the way? Like you told me that this is what you want. What has stopped you prior to this moment, right? So considering all the obstacles that has stopped them in the past or what might stop them from moving forward in this instance too. Okay, and then the W is what they will do for the wrap up, right? Like here's where we're thinking about what actions they're actually going to take. And this is them telling you. You ask them what they're ready for. You poke around, you make sure that they are like kind of trying and stretching themselves. But this is up to them to decide what actions they're going to take. And we're like deciding this now because we're going to check in on this next week. Okay, so follow the GROW model in this session. And here's the key. As long as you are following the pillars of like listening intently, being curious, right? Coming from the place of curiosity, which is always your best tool as a coach, and you're reflecting back, right? So we're listening intently, we're being curious by asking the questions, and then we're holding the mirror. That's what I call holding the mirror. We're reflecting back what we're hearing them say, what we're noticing, okay? So that we can get to the truth about what's really happening and we can get to the core and slowly move them towards what they're telling us that they want, the result, okay? So that is the first session. At the end, as a close, you can always ask, so you told me the goal of the session was to XYZ. Do you feel like we've achieved that? Do you feel you are more clear on what to do now or how you want to proceed? Do you feel like you're getting a little closer to X result that you wanted, right? So that they can tell you why or why not. Okay, it's always a great way. So I'm super excited for you to dive in and have your first coaching session and make sure that you come to the live open coaching time this week so that you can share about what that experience was like and then do your evaluation and share out with me and if there's any coaching that you need around what to do next time if you're feeling stumped.